Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Devaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, Text 11. Etan nirvidyamananam ichatam akuto bhayam yoginam nripa nirnitam arer namanukirtanam etan nirvidyamananam ichatam akuto bhayam Yoginam Nripanirnitam Harer Namanukirtanam Etan Nirvidyamananam Ichatam Akuto Bhayam Yoginam Nripanirnitam Harer Namanukirtanam Etan Nirvidyamananam Ichatam Akuto Bhayam Yoginam Nripanirnitam Harer Namanukirtanam
Etad nirvidyamananam
Etan Nirvidyamananam
Ichitam akuto bhayam
Ichatam Akuto Bhayam
Yoginam nripanirnitam
Yoginam Nripanirnitam
Harer namanukirtanam
Harer Namanukirtanam
Etan nirvidyamananam
Etan Nirvidyamananam
Ichatam akuto bhayam
Ichatam Akuto Bhayam
Yoginam nripanirnitam
Yoginam Nripanirnitam
Harer namanukirtanam
Harer Namanukirtanam
Etan nirvidyamananam
Tam Nirvidyamananam
Ichchatam akuto bhayam
Tam Akuto Bhayam
Yoginam nripanirnitam
Yoginam Nripanirnitam
Harer namanukirtanam
Harer Namanukirtanam
Etan nirvidyamananam
Mananam
Ichitam akuto bhayam
To Bhayam
Yoginam nripanirnitam
Nirnitam
Harer namanukirtanam
Namanukirtanam
Etan nirvidyamananam Ichatam akuto bhayam
Tonayam
Yoginam nirpanirnitam
Nirnitam
Harer namanukirtanam
Nukirtanam
Etam nirvidayam ananam
Mananam
Ichchatam aktuto bayam
To Bhayam
Yoginam nirpanirnantam nitam Harer namanukirtanam
Etan nirvidyamananam Ichatam akuto bhayam
Akuto Bhayam
Yoginam nripanirnitam Harer namanukirtanam
Kirtanam
Etan nirvidyamananam
Mananam
Ichchatam akuto bhayam
To Bhayam
Yoginam nripanirnitam Harer namanukirtanam
Etan nirvidyamananam Ichitam akuto bhayam Yoginam nripanirnitam Harer namanukirtanam
Etan nirvidyamananam Ichatam akuto bhayam Yoginam nirpanirnitam Harer namanukirtanam
Nakirtanam Etat, it is. Nirvidyamananam. Of those who are completely free from all material desires. Ichitam. Of those who are desirous of all sorts of material enjoyment. Akutapayam. Free from all doubts and fear. Yoginam. Of all who are self-satisfied. Nripa. O King. Nirnitam. Decided truth. Hare. Of the Lord. Shri Krishna. Nama. Holy name. Anu. After someone. Always. Kirtanam. Chanting. Translation. O King, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord, after the ways of the great authorities, is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from all material desires, those who are desirous of all material enjoyment, and also those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge. Purport. In the previous verse, the great necessity for attaining attachment to Mukunda has been accredited. There are different types of persons who desire to attain success in different varieties of pursuits. Generally, the persons are materialists who desire to enjoy the fullest extent of material gratification. Next to them are the transcendentalists, who have attained perfect knowledge about the nature of material enjoyment, and thus are aloof from such an illusory way of life. More or less, they are satisfied in themselves by self-realization. Above them are the devotees of the Lord, who neither aspire to enjoy the material world, nor desire to get out of it. They are after the satisfaction of the Lord, Shri Krishna. In other words, the devotees of the Lord do not want anything on their personal account. If the Lord desires, the devotees can accept all sorts of material facilities, and if the Lord does not desire this, the devotees can leave aside all sorts of facilities, even up to the limit of salvation. Nor are they self-satisfied, because they want the satisfaction of the Lord only. In this verse, Sri Shukadev Goswami recommends the transcendental chanting of the holy name of the Lord. By offenseless chanting and hearing of the holy name of the Lord, one becomes acquainted with the transcendental form of the Lord, and then with the attributes of the Lord, and then with the transcendental nature of his pastimes, etc. Here it is mentioned that one should constantly chant the holy name of the Lord after hearing it from authorities. This means that hearing from the authorities is the first essential. Hearing of the holy name gradually promotes one to the stage of hearing about his form, about his attributes, his pastimes, and so on. And thus the necessity of the chanting of his glories develops successively. This process is recommended not only for the successful execution of devotional service, but also even for those who are materially attached. According to Sri Shukadev Goswami, this way of attaining success is an established fact, concluded not only by him, but also by all other previous acharyas. Therefore, there is no need of further evidence. The process is recommended not only for the progressive students in different departments of ideological success, but also for those who are already successful in their achievement as fruitive workers, as philosophers or as devotees of the Lord. Srila Jiva Goswami instructs that chanting of the holy name of the Lord should be loudly done, and it should be performed offenselessly as well as recommended in the Padma Purana. One can deliver himself from the effects of all sins by surrendering himself unto the Lord. One can deliver himself from all offenses at the feet of the Lord by taking shelter of his holy name. But one cannot protect himself if one commits an offense at the feet of the holy name of the Lord. Such offenses are mentioned in the Padma Purana as being 10 in number. The first offense is to vilify the great devotees who have preached about the glories of the Lord. The second offense is to see the holy names of the Lord in terms of worldly distinction. The Lord is the proprietor of all the universes, and therefore he may be known in different places by different names, but that does not in any way qualify the fullness of the Lord. Any nomenclature which is meant for the Supreme Lord is as holy as the others because they are all meant for the Lord. Such holy names are as powerful as the Lord, and there is no bar for anyone in any part of the creation to chant and glorify the Lord by the particular name of the Lord as it is locally understood. They are all auspicious, and one should not distinguish such names of the Lord as material commodities. The third offense is to neglect the orders of the authorized acharyas or spiritual masters. The fourth offense is to vilify scriptures or Vedic knowledge. The fifth offense is to define the holy name of the Lord in terms of one's mundane calculation. The holy name of the Lord is identical with the Lord himself, and one should understand the holy name of the Lord to be non-different from him. The sixth offense is to interpret the holy name. The Lord is not imaginary, nor is his holy name. There are persons with a poor fund of knowledge who think the Lord to be an imagination of the worshipper, and therefore think his holy name to be imaginary. Such a chanter of the holy name of the Lord cannot achieve the desired success in the matter of chanting the holy name. The seventh offense is to commit sins intentionally on the strength of the holy name. In the scriptures, it is said that one can be liberated from the effects of all sinful actions simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord. One who takes advantage of this transcendental method and continues to commit sins on the expectation of neutralizing the effects of sins by chanting the holy name of the Lord is the greatest offender at the feet of the holy name. Such an offender cannot purify himself by any recommended method of purification. In other words, one may be a sinful man before chanting the holy name of the Lord, but after taking shelter in the holy name of the Lord and becoming immune, one should strictly restrain oneself from committing sinful acts with a hope that his method of chanting the holy name of the Lord and his method of chanting the holy name will give him protection. I'll read that one more time since I messed up. Such an offender cannot purify himself by any recommended method of purification. In other words, one may be a sinful man before chanting the holy name of the Lord, but after taking shelter in the holy name of the Lord and becoming immune, one should strictly restrain oneself from committing sinful acts with the hope that his method of chanting the holy name will give him protection. The eighth offense is to consider the holy name of the Lord and his chanting method to be equal to some material auspicious activity. There are various kinds of good works for material benefits, but the holy name and his chanting are not mere auspicious holy services. Undoubtedly, the holy name is holy service, but he should never be utilized for such purposes. Since the holy name and the Lord are of one and the same identity, one should not try to bring the holy name into the service of mankind. The idea is that the Supreme Lord is the supreme enjoyer. He is no one's servant or order supplier. Similarly, since the holy name of the Lord is identical with the Lord, one should not try to utilize the holy name for one's personal service. The ninth offense is to instruct those who are not interested in chanting the holy name of the Lord about the transcendental nature of the holy name. If such instruction is imparted to an unwilling audience, the act is considered to be an offense at the feet of the holy name. The 10th offense is to become uninterested in the holy name of the Lord, even after hearing of the transcendental nature of the holy name. The effect of chanting the holy name of the Lord is perceived by the chanter as liberation from the conception of false egoism. False egoism is exhibited by thinking oneself to be the enjoyer of the world and thinking everything in the world to be meant for the enjoyment of oneself only. The whole materialistic world is moving under such false egoism of I and mine, but the factual effect of chanting the holy name is to become free from such misconceptions. Om Agyana Timirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute, Tapta Kanchana Gourangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Haripriye, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We are all very eager to hear from Maharaj, if you'd like to share anything on this verse. So we are hearing a lot about the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, which is the only process in the age of Kali that will free us from all the sufferings of the material world and give us pure devotional service unto Sri Krishna. And there are some points to be considered and things to be avoided in chanting the holy name, as we just heard. Often when we try to do some preaching engagement, like book distribution, or maybe speak to someone on Harinam, many people that will meet, they often say, "Oh, I have no time. I have no time." But we can see that this is actually the place that our time should be going towards, is toward spiritual life and chanting the glories of the Lord. As we saw in the translation, just one more time, the constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord, after the ways of the great authorities, is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from all material desires, those who are desirous of all material enjoyment, and those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge. So this is the process for everyone to attain all perfection and return to their eternal spiritual relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. But we can see one reason why the attraction for hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord doesn't happen in some people, even though, because one might wonder, okay, this is the method of success for all, it's the topmost thing, so why is it that some persons will not do it? And Krishna explains this in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam tayapa hrita chetasam vyavaisayatmika buddhi samado na vidiyate. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So as long as someone is attached to this material world and trying to enjoy the fruits of their actions, thinking this world will be for my enjoyment, I can get more and more, and in this way become happier and happier. As long as that consideration and thought is there, one doesn't actually develop their attraction for this prime benediction of life, the chanting of the holy name. And to think that way is actually an illusion anyways, to think, okay, I'll get more and more and be happier and happier, is actually a complete illusion, because the more and more someone gets, the more and more unhappy they become. Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita that lust is like a fire. And so to engage in lusty activities more and more just increases this fire. It's like trying to put out a fire by pouring gasoline on it. So when the mind contemplates sense enjoyment, then it becomes more attached to it. And then from that attachment we see anger develops, and then so many things. From anger, bewilderment of memory, when memory is bewildered, the intelligence is lost, and one falls down again into the material pool. So the more one tries to enjoy the material world, it's like going into quicksand. They're just sinking more and more into it. But one can develop a taste for hearing and chanting about the Lord by associating with the Lord's devotees. In the Nectar of Instruction, Srila Prabhupada writes that if our endeavor, prayasa, is not to inquire about the absolute truth, we will simply increase our endeavor to satisfy our artificial needs. So, by endeavoring to hear about the Lord, Krishna is pleased, and he'll engage us in more service. When we have the interest and inquisitiveness to inquire about the Lord, then we actually begin to hear more about him. But if our interest is for something other than knowing the absolute truth, then we'll simply engage in more materialistic activities. Here's one more verse that I found helpful with this text. One might ask, well, again, if this is the topmost process, then who wouldn't take to it? So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 20, Text 26, it's explained, "My dear highly glorified Lord, if one in the association of pure devotees hears even once the glories of your activities, he is not, unless he is nothing but an animal, give up the association of devotees. For no intelligent person would be so careless as to leave their association. The perfection of chanting and hearing about your glories was accepted even by the goddess of fortune, who desired to hear of your unlimited activities and transcendental glories." So it's the topmost process, so to give it up would be the biggest mistake. Hearing and chanting about the Lord, and that can be specifically done in the association of devotees. So if one gives that up, it's explained in this verse that he's nothing but an animal. So we're given the opportunity to take to this process every day in the association of devotees. So it behooves us to take full advantage of it by chanting and making the best attempt to chant sincerely the holy name every morning in the association of devotees. And here we're hearing the different ways in which the holy name has to be chanted. So the first thing that was mentioned is let's see. So we have to chant offenselessly, and so the first offense in chanting the holy name is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord, or as it's explained in this purport, to vilify the great devotees who preached about the glories of the Lord. So, just like there's a saying in today's society, if you love me, love my dog. So people really appreciate if someone comes to their home and if they give their dog a treat, they'll become very happy with this guest. But if someone comes to their home and they kick the dog, then they won't be very happy with that at all. They won't like the person. So the devotee is like the dog of Krishna. The devotees are very dear to Krishna, just in the same way that dogs are very dear to people today. So a devotee should develop friendship with devotees and care about them. But if one does the far, far opposite, which is criticize them, blaspheme devotees, vilify them, in the mind going, why is this person like that? Why isn't he like this instead? He should be like me, because I'm so great. These kind of things. Then that won't help our chanting. We won't be able to chant. So the second offense is to see the holy names of the Lord in terms of worldly distinction. So, or we also say, when we recite the 10 offenses, to see the names of demigods like Brahma or Lord Shiva to be equal to or independent of the holy name of Lord Vishnu. So there's no personality who can compare to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So to put him in the same category as any other living being, it's an offense because he's so beyond every living being. There's that verse, Nitya Nityanam, Chetanam Chetananam. There's one supreme eternal, and there are many, many, many other small eternals. And what is the difference between both of them? Is that the one supreme eternal, he's providing the necessities of all the others. So I can't provide my own necessities or the necessities of a few people or others. So there's no comparison between the Jiva soul and the Supreme Lord. Oh, yes, Maharaj.
The fifth offense is described here as to define the holy name of the Lord in terms of one's mundane calculation. People think that chanting Hare Krishna is too simple, that you can't, how can you reach the perfection of life just by repeating something, muttering something? And therefore they don't take it very seriously. They think it's just something quite childish, even. They think they need to speculate about what the Absolute should be like, or undergo some severe austerities, to fast for a long time, or meditate on nothingness or something. The example is given that one thinks he needs some very heavy medicine, and so he may not take the lighter medicine that it's easier to take. He thinks he has to take something very severe, undergo some big operation, surgical. Unless he does surgery or has something very horrendous, then he thinks he won't be able to get cured. But actually, chanting Hare Krishna, chanting the name of the Lord, it solves all the problem quite easily. It helps one control his senses, control his mind, helps him so that he won't want to criticize others. His heart will become purified, and instead of finding faults with others, he'll be able to see their good qualities. And he'll become more self-reflective, how he can improve himself, and he'll work on that. All these nice things come from chanting. And it's not necessary to do all the other difficult things. There's a statement in Brahma Samhita that even if one undergoes severe austerities or studies scriptures for millions of lifetimes, he won't achieve the success without devotional service. And the Lord likes it when His holy name is chanted. That's why in one verse He says that I'm not in Vaikuntha, and I'm not in the hearts of the yogis, but I'm wherever my pure devotees are chanting my holy name. The Lord likes to hear them chant, because they're chanting to please Him, whereas others may be saying Vedic mantras or performing Vedic rituals to get something themselves for themselves. And to get mystic powers or to ask for liberation. But the devotees who chant the holy names without any desires for pleasing, for getting things back, they're very dear to the Lord. He appreciates that very much. So we shouldn't put aside the chanting thinking that it's too easy and it can't have that much effect anyway, because anyone can do it. I'm a big scholar. I can do much more than chant if I want to. I can figure out the philosophy and understand things. I can understand Sanskrit. And even a child can chant Hare Krishna. So obviously it can't be for adults and great scholars and things, or big wealthy persons. But don't underestimate the power of the holy name. It's not different than Krishna. And as Krishna is present in his form, as he's also present in his name. And it says here that by chanting the name, then the Lord's form will become visible to the Lord, to the chanter. And then his paraphernalia and his glories and his pastimes, etc., will come successively. These will be some of the benefits of chanting.
Thank you, Maharaj. Those are very exciting benefits to look forward to. Are there any questions or comments on this? Yes, Maturnath Prabhu? Damodar's got a mic for you.
So, I think I may have mentioned this recently, that it's quite easy to understand this fifth offense on paper, that the Lord is non-different than His holy name, but in a practical, experiential way, this is something else. So I was wondering if someone could speak on, having more of a practical understanding that the Lord is non-different than His holy name versus just, accepting it on paper.
One thing is, if you chant Hare Krishna, you feel happy. You feel nice. When you don't chant, you don't feel the same. So that's quite practical. Whenever you're feeling some discomfort in any way, if you chant, then you become free from that. We see even people that don't understand what it is. I remember once we were chanting in Washington, D.C. on the 4th of July. They have a big festival there for the 4th of July, the nation's capital. And we had a tent, large tent, and we had our kirtan band chanting, and many people were coming and chanting with us. But then it started pouring rain. And then all the people came in our tent because there was no other shelter. So it was packed. And everyone was all packed together inside. No one would leave. It was raining like dogs and cats. And it brought about some funny things because there was one group of college students, and they just thought this was going to be a great opportunity to make fun of the Hare Krishnas in a perfect environment where they'd have a great opportunity. So they tried doing whatever they could do to make it silly and act bizarre. But also there was things going on, like you had different groups of people completely different than each other from different cultural backgrounds, and they ended up being right next to each other, And then they started chanting and dancing. They thought, well, I guess we're here. Let's go ahead and chant and dance. And that was really nice to see. Old people with young people that normally wouldn't have been from different countries and different cultures. But the chanting seemed to make everyone have a good time. After we chanted for many hours, and those college students, after it did stop raining, they left. But then they came back after some hours, and they started chanting with us again. And after we were done, they came up and said, well, we have to apologize. We came here just to joke and ridicule, and we were doing. But this was the most wonderful day we've ever had, and we just want to thank you and apologize for any misbehavior. So those are edifying times when you see how the chanting is glorious. And it's even more glorious than the form, because if you show the form of God to someone and say, we're chanting to this person, they might not be able to deal with it. Prabhupada wasn't in favor so much of taking deities out for Sankirtan parties and things, because people don't understand deities, but the sound vibration is even more accessible. Nam namakari bahudani jasarva shaktis tatrarpitanyamitak smaranena kalaha etadushi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaivam idvishami hajani nanuragaha. The holy name of the Lord has hundreds and millions of different names. The Lord has different names, and they're completely potent. So don't underestimate the holy name. And if they can't chant Hare Krishna because of cultural problems, then they can chant whatever their local names are, the names that culturally. When we were in Israel, we were speaking with the Druze people. It's a certain religion, and they have 99 names of God. So they have also beads. And so I met with a large group of the leaders, and I said, I'd like to ask you to do two things. One, please stop eating meat and eat vegetarian food. And the second, and I explained why, and second one is to chant the holy names of the Lord every day out loud, and you can chant the 99 names of God that you have on your beads. I said, so let's do that now. So someone came and they had the 99, so I said, read out the 99 names, and then we'll all repeat them. So they chanted the 99 names, we all repeated. I said, so now chant on this 16 times a day around your beads, if you will, and then God will be very happy. So that's an example of, because culturally they may have had some of them may have had difficulty chanting our names from, they think, India, and they're from a different place, but they can chant their own names. As long as they're bona fide names of God, they will have effect.
Okay, thank you so much, Maharaj. Yes, Valmiki Prabhu?
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj remind me of one story. It was punk concert, and we were there and chanting Hare Krishna. And there was one person, he was like killer, like a big guy, and he looks very heavy, and he was dancing, chanting, and I asked him that, like, how is that possible that you came here, and you are chanting and you have fun here, And he said, well, to be honest, I was very angry on you, and I came here to beat you up, all. I was very angry, and I wanted to just beat you all. But I came and I started to chant, and then actually he turned to such person that he was arranging everything for us, like water, and he was supplying everything what we needed. So he was very like Bhakta, So it was very funny. And also another experience with the festivals, we got small tent on one festival, and you have to pay a lot of money to go in, and so people did, but many of them were passing, around our tent, and they just stopped for a while, So they paid ticket, they just stopped, and what happened that many of them, they didn't, attain the whole program for 2 or 3 days, what they paid for, and they just stuck in our tent for 2 and 3 days chanting and, like that. So it's funny, that they paid a lot of money to be in our tent, That's funny. Many times happened this, many times. So this chanting is very attractive, yes. Hare Krishna.
Hi. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.